Rosalaura Romeo. She will present UN Mountain Agenda, the Mountain Partnership and related regional mechanisms. So please, Rosalaura, floor is yours. And I also should mention that I will be chairing today's session, and Dr. Sarah Norin, she will be co-chairing. She will be my supporting me today in this session. Thank you. Rosalaura, please, floor is yours.
Good morning, and thank you, Afid, and good morning, everyone. It's really a pleasure to join this summer school. Allow me to share my screen. I hope it will work, and I hope my internet connection has no problem. In case, bear with me, I will put a hotspot and continue my presentation. And feel free to stop me if something is not clear anytime. Okay, let me share my screen. Okay, sorry, just a moment. Sorry, it's a bit complicated here. I have too many things. Share, okay. And now let's go to the, can you see my screen?
Yes.
Sorry, I cannot put it in presentation mode.
You go down.
Sorry, just one question, just 1 second.
No problem, don't rush. Everything is fine.
Okay, should be okay now, right?
Perfect.
Sorry. Okay, well, good morning, everyone. So as Dr. Afid was mentioning, I'm talking today about the mountain agenda, and just put the things into the context of the United Nations processes. So let me start with my first slide. Okay, I'm just, sorry, I think that I left the transition here. Okay. So as you know, the very first time which the world started talking about mountain development was in Rio at the famous meeting of the agenda, when the Agenda 21 was promoted. So in 1992, so it was many years ago, about 30 years ago, that for the first time the world realized the importance of mountains. And that was achieved thanks to the support and passion of a small group of scientists, policymakers, and countries that really pushed to have mountains included in the discussion there. And this took the form of a chapter, chapter 13, that recognized the importance of mountains for the well-being of the planet, with the chapter that was dedicated to mountain. The chapter was, the title was making reference specifically to the fragility of mountains. So mountains as fragile ecosystems. So basically, that was the very first step. The very first time that in an international process, United Nations process, mountains were included and recognized as ecosystems to be protected because of their global role, because of the functions and the service they provide to the entire planet and the entire humanity. The second important step we can see in the global agenda is the creation, the establishment of the Alpine Foundation, of the Alpine Convention. The Alpine Convention, as you can imagine, is a convention that brings together the 8 countries around the Alpine Arch, and it was officially created in 1995, and I'll tell you a bit more later on. 2002 was also a very important year for mountains, because it was the year in which the World Summit for Sustainable Development in Johannesburg took place. That basically was a Rio +10, that also included a specific reference to mountains. Was also the year in which the Mountain Partnership was founded. I'll tell you more later on. And the year in which the United Nations decided to devote 1 day every year to celebrate mountains. And that was the International Year of Mountains that is celebrated now on 11th of December every year. Another important step was in 2003 when the Carpathian Foundation was mentioned, and I'm very happy that there is a presentation about the Carpathian Convention just after my presentation. That would be a very nice sequence to explain how global decision can then trickle down and really be active at regional and national level. In 2012, Rio +20, another big event took place in Rio de Janeiro, Rio +20. Was promoted there, the future we want. It's a very important declaration that again included 3 paragraphs on mountain. In 2014, the Andean Initiative was founded. It's not a convention, so it's not a legally binding instrument. We will see a bit more later on, but it's still an agreement among all the Andean countries, the 7 Andean countries, to promote mountain development, to promote cooperation in the region. In 2015, as you know, we had the agenda 2021 and the SDGs, the Sustainable Development Goals, another important step for mountains. And in 2017, the members of the mountain countries endorsed a framework for action and to ensure that the Agenda 21 would be fully implemented in their mountain areas. So let me go through basically now these key steps for mountains. Well, as I mentioned, so Agenda 21 was this global plan, and this included this chapter for mountains, as I said, that was called Managing Fragile Ecosystems, Sustainable Mountain Development. It's a very comprehensive chapter. If we look at this chapter now with our eyes and our awareness of today, we could tell that the social aspects were possibly not fully developed. But I would say that for being a chapter drafted so many years ago, it's really very comprehensive and still very relevant. And FAO, the Food and Agriculture Organization, where I work, where FITS also works, was appointed as the task manager of Chapter 13. It means that the role of FAO as the key agency within the UN system for mountains was recognized based on its work on sustainable mountain development, and in particular the work that FAO was done in forestry and in particular in watershed management. As I said, 2002 was also the year in which the United Nations passed a resolution to request that every year an International Year of Mountain, International Year of Mountain. Sorry, I'm confused. It's very early year. So International Year of Mountain. This was requested by Kyrgyzstan and supported by a large group of countries. And FAO was the lead agency in collaboration with a number of key United Nations organizations such as UNEP, UNDP, and UNESCO. And it was a very successful year with many countries implementing activities to celebrate this year. About 80 countries established a kind of national committee to celebrate mountains. And it was really a springboard for important decision and follow-up that we are still benefiting from. So the same year, the Mountain Partnership was created. It was created at the request of basically 2 governments, the government of Italy and the government of Switzerland. And it was also supported by 2 United Nations agencies, FAO and UNEP. I guess you are familiar, but FAO is the Food and Agriculture Organization and UNEP is the United Nations Environment Program. So there are 2 organizations that are very complementary for their activities, and they're still both very involved in mountain areas. So the Mountain Partnership started with a small group of governments, small group of committed countries and NGOs and organizations. And during these 20 years, it has considerably grown. We have now more than 400 members, including 60 governments. The Mountain Partnership is hosted by FAO, and it is supported by a secretariat where I work, and is financially supported by Italy and Switzerland, while Andorra is providing some in-kind support. If your organization, or if you or your government, your organization wants to know more about the Mountain Partnership and want to consider joining, let me know. There is a very extensive website, and I'll tell you more later on why it's really important that we join forces and support mountains. So these are the key areas of work of the Mountain Partnership advocacy. Of course, it's really important that mountains are included in the main international processes. So we really work and tap into the resources of our members, their energy, their commitment, to ensure that every time there is a relevant event at global level or regional level, but even national level, mountains are mentioned. Mountains are included, mountains are discussed, and very importantly, mountain receives attention in terms of investment, priorities, investment and policies. These are the two key issues, investment and policies, because mountains continue to be very neglected in many countries. Another area of work for the Mountain Partnership is capacity development, and I'm very pleased to see this summer school, which is an important contribution to improve the capacity of people to understand sustainable mountain development and work for sustainable mountain development in an effective way. So we support summer school, but training program around the world in general. As Mountain Partnership Secretariat, we also organize two summer schools. One is called IPROMO, and is provided in English since about 15 years. And for the first time this year, we offer the course also in Spanish, always in collaboration with key partners. And we also have a summer school on agrobiodiversity that concluded last Friday. Another important area of our work is, of course, knowledge sharing, being a partnership. Being such a big partnership, we need to keep our members connected. We need to ensure that there is a good communication flow among the members. So we produce and share publications, articles, etc. But also we encourage our members to share their information with us so that we can repost and ensure that there is a good level of understanding of mountain issues, and that the information is always up to date. We also promote collaboration among our members in case they have activities, they have initiatives, they have a research project, they have a proposal want to submit. We encourage members to collaborate and support each other. So these are basically the 4 areas of work of the Mountain Partnership, and this is how the work is organized. Now a few words about the International Mountain Day that is celebrated, as I was saying before, every day on 11th of December. And usually this year we will have a high-level event in FAO on the 10th, because 11 is a Saturday. And we are aiming to have a publication on mountain tourism, because the theme this year is sustainable tourism in mountains. We will have a communication campaign, of course, engaging our members, and usually our partners, the members of Mountain Partnership, but also other groups and constituencies that are interested in mountains organize events. So every year, on average, almost 100 events are organized around the world to celebrate mountains on 11th of December. So we encourage you to do the same. And if you want to have material, more information, PowerPoint, please contact us, and we can share information with you. So this is the International Mountain Day for this year. And this is the list of all the International Mountain Day that we organized since it was established back in 2002. So the first time was 2003. And you can see we have covered a lot of themes pertaining to sustainable mountain development. But every year, we are also very happy to receive suggestions. So if you think there is a theme that is particularly relevant and should be included, let us know, because we are always very interested in gaining interesting ideas and learning from our partners what could be relevant for them. So as you could see, we have a lot of teams that are very diverse. So we go from fresh water to peace, the importance of peace, because as you know, many conflicts are arising in mountain areas, to disaster risk management, of course, climate change. Climate change, I think we celebrated twice, etc. So the last year was mountain biodiversity, but in general, we also say that if a group think that a team, they have a more relevant team, they can also organize a celebration in their country based on what is more relevant for them. But these are just suggestions. But we produce always material, publication, and poster. I'm very happy to share with you all. So the Rio Plus 20, this was as I was saying, another important step. Basically, we also organized a meeting of the Mountain Partnership members there, and it was very successful in the sense that we had 3 paragraphs at the end included in the final outcome document. I just would like now to share with you what we mean when we talk about sustainable mountain development, because I'm sure that during this course, this topic was brought up by many different speakers, and we can all have different perspective, different opinion, or different understanding of this topic. So I just would like to tell you what sustainable mountain development means for us and how we implement that. So for us, sustainable mountain development means enhancing, strengthening the capacity of institution to promote it. So this is a very important part, to enable the institution at all levels to support activities in mountain areas, to sustainably manage mountain landscape and ensuring that the ecosystem service they provide can continue to flow. A very important aspect is the empowerment of mountain communities. Mountain communities are the stewards of mountains. They are the ambassador. They are those that are really there to protect. But often they have no voice. They are not really central in the development policies. They are ignored by central government. So it's really important that mountain communities and local authorities are fully in the driver's seat. They are fully empowered to implement activities that I think are necessary for the mountains. And empower means also that they are able to manage their resources and to manage their financial resources in the way they consider more appropriate. This is a very important point. So a sustainable mountain development means also increases sustainability of mountain economies, and in particular food security and nutrition, that are very important points. So, and I'm sure you have heard a lot about why mountains are important, but here are some of the key figures that I would like to share with you based on our research, based on the research of our partners and what we think is more relevant. So as you know, mountains cover 27% of the Earth land surface. They are home to 50% of the global population of the world. So 1,100,000,000 people living in mountain areas. This is more than Europe, so it's a large part of the world. Well, we all know that the most important role that mountains provide to humanity is the provision of water. Water is in large part coming from mountain areas. This is an average, of course, is an average. Every year is different, in any location is different. We know that in arid zone, this is higher, is in zone where you are very arid conditions. The role of mountains is even more relevant. But no, about 40% of humanity benefit from water coming from mountains. And this is the most important thing, especially when we discuss climate change and the impact of climate change. We also know that forests are very present in mountain areas. So the role of forests as carbon sink and as climate regulation are also very relevant. So mountain and forests are very, very closely linked. But mountains are also beautiful, and when life is normal, we're not in a pandemic period, mountains are also a very important place for tourism. And as I was saying before, this year the International Mountain Day will be devoted to tourism in recognition of the important role that mountains play for tourism, and also recognition of the role that tourism plays for mountains, or could play, in the sense that if tourism is properly managed, is an important driver of conservation, is an important driver of economic development for mountain people. But the tourism must be really benefiting local population, and the benefit should stay in the valley, and the protection of the environment should be, of course, a key element. And also we know that mountain people are highly food insecure and are often very poor. And this is a real issue for all of us living in promoting mountain development that should really guide the activities of our policymakers and focus attention for investment and specific policies. So mountains are under pressure, as we all know. They are under pressure because global changes, I would say, including climate change, but they are under pressure because of unsustainable mining activities. They are not only, climate change is not the only problem in mountain areas. But climate change is creating a lot of issues. In particular, they're pushing people further into poverty and hunger. And many people are now migrating because of climate change in mountain areas, because of the disruptive impact of climate change, with the extreme events, with desertification, with loss of livelihood. We have been conducted studies to map the vulnerability of mountain people, and it's clear that mountain people are among the poorest and most malnourished in the world. When I was telling you before that 50% of mountain people live in mountain areas, of course it's true, but it's also very true that most of these 15% lives in developing countries, because only 100,000 people are still living in developed world. Most of these 1 billion lives in developing countries. So it's really important now that we focus our action where the problem is. And it's clear that most of these people live below the poverty line. At least 350 million people are food insecure to our research, and this trend is sales. So let's look specifically now at the food insecurity. As I was saying, we have been studying this issue since the year 2000, and this in food insecurity has constantly increased. So the vulnerability is still rising. And we know that the pandemic is really putting a very harsh token on mountain communities. You know, we say that mountain economies are basically supported by 3 pillars. That it is agriculture, including, of course, pastoralism and fishery. So agriculture, remittances, and tourism. These are the 3 main economic activities in mountain areas, or the 3 sources of funding in mountain areas. And those 3 have all been very severely hit by the pandemic. So these 3 are being shaken by the pandemic. So it's clear that this food insecurity that we knew was very high. These are data from 2017, has possibly further increased because of the pandemic. We also know that about 500 million people live in areas affected by natural hazards. We also know that about 300 million people are exposed to progressive land degradation, live in areas with intensive land degradation. I mentioned conflict before. Conflicts are very common in mountain areas, in the sense that most conflicts of the world are fought, unfortunately, in mountain areas, because mountains are often at the border, there are places for refugees, etc. So almost 200 million people are affected by conflict, which means that their livelihood, the local economy is totally disrupted. And also, you know, distance is a big issue for buying products, but also for selling products. 85 million people live in mountain areas that are more than 1 hour travel distance. from the closed market. So you can imagine why it's really important to promote investment and specific policies to address the livelihood of mountain people. So the mountain agenda, let's go back to the mountain agenda, the SDGs. As you know, there are 3 specific targets in the SDGs looking at mountain development. The most important one is the 15.4, because it's the only one devoted only to mountains, looking specifically to mountains. And it looks at the conservation of mountain ecosystems, in particular the capacity to provide ecosystem service to humanity, looking at the conservation of their biodiversity. And FAO is the responsible for the indicator related to this target. So another important issue, as I was saying before, is that the countries of the Mountain Partnership committed to fully implement the Agenda 2030 e-mountain areas, and this was endorsed in a meeting in 2017. Every 3 years, was initially every 2 years, now it's every 3 years, FAO, the United Nations prepare a report on sustainable mountain development, and the FAO has compiled these reports at the very beginning as being the task manager. So it's very interesting, you can read it online. Includes all the basic information about sustainable mountain development around the world, all the progress made. Just a few words quickly about what's happening at regional level. Mountain policy is usually organized through non-legally binding instruments, but there are at global level 2 conventions that are dealing specifically with mountains. You will hear about the Carpathian Convention later on, but there is also the Alpine Convention, I was saying. But there are also many instruments that are related to mountains in national legislation. And we know that the countries that have been able to adopt mountain-specific policies and laws have been very successful in supporting the mountain people. But of course, it's not easy. There are a lot of challenges when you want to develop a law for mountains. We had a number of publications about this, and you can read it on our website. But in particular, we know that the glaciers have been very relevant in this discussion because of they are so severely hit by climate change. So the Alpine Convention, as I said, came into effect, was founded in 1993, but came into effect in 1995, and is bringing together the countries that you see here. And is organized around protocols. So the members have identified key elements and then discussed through protocols. The Carpathian Convention, you will hear much more in a few minutes. And it's a very important platform for promoting development in these important mountain areas. The Andean Mountain Initiative, it's not a legally binding convention, it's a soft system. It was promoted by the Mountain Partnership, by us and by FAO, supported with the project, funded officially in 2014. And it's bringing together these countries to promote cooperation about mountain areas and protection of the environment. The CBD, the Convention for Biological Diversity, has also a program of work on mountain biodiversity, and this is the only United Nations convention that specifically look at mountain areas. This program of work is not very active and should be revitalized, and this could be a very important platform for promoting cooperation. And that was my last slide. Allow me to conclude, thanking you very much, and saying that mountains need support in the sense that in the international processes, mountains are still highly neglected. It's still difficult to gain political support for mountains. So I really call on all of you on your respective areas of work to ensure that your organization and most importantly, your government are fully committed to promote mountain development because we need your support. Thank you very much. And I wish you very good success for this meeting. Thank you, Afitz. Over to you.
Thank you, Mr. Mario. I must say,
oh, Sarah, sorry.
Yes, that's fine. That's okay. Everything goes to you because of finishing on time.